Welcome to another edition of Sports and Songs, our weekly podcast. We're in season 2, episode number 17. We are your hosts, Dan and Andy. Andy, how are you this Saturday?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
Good. It's March 20th. We're into the first day of spring here. March Madness. We've got baseball, hockey, basketball, wrestling, sports, all sorts of goodies coming up.
Some colleges have spring football going.
Spring football today for the Bison, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And so we got everything winding down here. We should have a good episode along with some music, concert news, and album review.
Yes. A little bit of everything. But first,
trivia.
Yes.
Trivia question for all those women's college Division I hockey fans out there. The Ohio State Buckeyes prior to the last 4 years, never finished higher than 4th in the WCHA conference. Kind of always down there, bottom, cellar dwellers, kind of middle of the road, middle of the pack. But in the last 4 years, they have been finishing in the top 3 in their conference and making it to the Frozen Four twice. The reason for this is their new head coach. Who is the new head coach? That's the trivia question today.
No.
Name the Ohio State Buckeyes women's head coach that's caused hockey, who's caused all this, the great turnaround in their program. And we'll get to that trivia question answer at the end of the sports segment today. But go ahead with ranking.
All right. Yes, we'll start off. Speaking of hockey, we'll go into high school hockey rankings right off the bat here. This is off stateofhockey.com. Nothing that we do on our own. It's all we steal stuff from everybody, and we're going to share that information. Boys hockey 2A as of March 18th. Lakeville South is still 1. Maple Grove Eden Prairie flip spots. Grand Rapids Hill Murray flip spots. The rest are all kind of the same. St. Thomas Academy dropped to 8th. Edina and Minnetonka 11 and 12. Kind of weird seeing those two down there, but there they are nonetheless. Moorhead down at 17, Roseau at 18. Kind of weird seeing some of the perennial state tournament participants down there, yeah. Boys A, again, Gentry Academy still number 2. They've been number 1 or 2 all along. Hermantown War Road, same cast of characters every year right here for the A, which is fine, not complaining. There's Delano at 12. So A holding tight, doing their thing. Moving on. Basketball, boys basketball. Here we go. 4A got Champlin Park. Same top 6 really. Champlin Park, Wayzata, Eastview, Robbinsdale, Cooper. 3A. Move on along. This is all off Minnesota Basketball Hub. This is all Star Tribune rankings. That is not a repeat. That is the rankings again for them. It's the final rankings for 3A. Minnehaha, South St. Paul, Tina Grace. Final rankings 2A. There we go. Waseca, North, and Caledonia. Again, boys tournaments will be starting here pretty soon for their section tournaments for first state. So these are kind of the final rankings. Final time we'll talk about them for state. And there's A, Monoman, Ashby, and Nevis right up there. Their top 10 for boys. The girls, 4A, Hopkins, Farmington 17-0 at 2. Stillwater 16-0. The top 4 are all undefeated. Number 5, Elk River, 1 loss. Tonka coming in at 6. Centennial. EP down at 9 and Wayzata at 10. 3A. Hill Murray jumps to number 1. Becker took one on the chin there. It looks like they dropped from 1 to 3. Academy moves up to 2. Waconia coming in at 6 for 3A. 2A. Again, these are as of the 10th, so these are old. Like I said, playoffs are coming up, so some of these are still kind of rumbling around. New London, Spicer, Ferguson, Stewartville, your top 3. And then 1A, there we go, Minnesota, Henning, and Sleepy Eye, your top 3 there. Did you have any girls basketball news, sir?
Yes, you'd mentioned Becker. This last week, they lost to Hopkins. They scheduled a game against Hopkins, top team in the state and number 4 team in the nation. They got beat. So one of their losses, I also think Becker lost again, but Hopkins beat them. Now, Hopkins also scheduled a game with Chaska, the Chaska Hawks, for a couple of weeks ago, a non-conference game, pairing up the 2 top-ranked teams in the state, in the nation. You know, number 4 Hopkins against number 20. Yep. Chaska's up to number 20 in the nation now, and that game was canceled, postponed as well. So we never got a chance to see that. But last night in the Section 2 4A semifinals, Chaska beat Shakopee Sabres. They'll be moving on to the sectional title game. Now they're ranked 3rd here in the state. They're ranked 20th in the nation. They'll be taking on Minnetonka, ranked 6th. And that'll be the final championship game in Chaska on Thursday night. The winner goes to state. Now, Chaska hasn't been to state since 2010. And so they're on a potential 11-year drought here. So if they win, they're in. If they lose, they are done. But they are a fun team to watch. Like you said, undefeated. They'll be taking on the Minnetonka Skippers on Thursday. But that's all that I've got for that.
All right. Moving on. Speaking of hockey here still, we have women's hockey Frozen Four. Games went kind of as projected there for their rankings. Championship game. We got the finals. Northeastern and Wisconsin were your winners, so they move on. There we go, updated. Refresh. They'll be playing tonight for your championship. 6:30. Wisconsin and Northeastern going there. Looks like the rankings brought Minnesota Duluth beat Colgate 5 over the foot. Really, 1 beat 8, 2 beat 7. Really no major upsets there for the girls. There's Ohio State, as we mentioned, made the Frozen Four, but lost 4-2 to Team Cheddar. Speaking of college sports, there's this little basketball tournament thing going on here. And we're, like I said, we didn't do our brackets, but we're going to talk about some Minnesota kids that are playing in the tournament. Here's Jalen Scuggs from Gonzaga, number 1 Gonzaga. He went to Minnehaha Academy. Gonzaga's first game is today, 8:20 Eastern on TBS. You could give him a view there. McKinley Wright, the fourth, from Colorado, went to Champlain Park. They play against Georgetown this morning, so you give them a view and see them. Georgetown's not a bad team either, so that should be a good game to watch. Jericho Sims at Texas. Cristo Rey High School he went to. I looked up Cristo Rey. I had never heard of them. Small school, enrollment of like 400 and some kids. Here he's playing in the big dance. So congrats to him. Texas is playing Outline Christian, which we'll cover a little bit later on here too. They play them today on True TV. You might want to start looking for True TV on your cable now. Mr. Walton, North Carolina, kid from Hopkins. North Carolina lost to Wisconsin yesterday, but if you had a chance to watch that and you heard that name, Hopkins kid, keep an eye on him in the future too. He's a freshman guard. Wisconsin winning was not a good thing for me in the bracket. Not that I had Carolina going far, but I did have Wisconsin losing. Speaking of said Wisconsin, you look at some of these names here, Wisconsin, it kind of looks like a Minnesota high school all-star team. Brad Davidson, Wisconsin. He went to Maple Grove, senior this year. There's Nathan Reavers, Wisconsin, forward, senior from Lakeville North. Here's some other Minnesotans that made it. Ben Carson went to Wisconsin. Stephen Kroll, Wisconsin. Geez, why did Patino lose his job again? I forgot. Tristan Dean plays for Liberty. He's went to North St. Paul. Another kid from Liberty, Drake Dobbs. He went to Eden Prairie. Another kid that went to Wisconsin from Hopkins, Joe Headstorm. Jacob Hudson went to Loyola Chicago. He was a cake eater. Walt McGravy was Wisconsin, another cake eater. Cameron Steele, Albanine Christian. We talked about them earlier. He went to Minnetonka. And Taylor Wall, another Wisconsin kid. All these Wisconsin kids, and everybody's Why, again, Richard Pitino lost his job as head coach here because he couldn't recruit the local kids. All these local kids went to Wisconsin. What are they doing? Oh, they're playing the second round tomorrow, next week. Liberty, they did lose to Oklahoma State, and Loyola Chicago did beat Georgia Tech. On the women's side, there are some gals playing. I was reading a story on care11.com. You can follow the story there. Jalen Suggs, who mentioned earlier at Gonzaga, grew up very close friends with Paige Beckers. There's some pictures of those two together on there. They did a lot of things together. So the girls' side, you'll see Paige. Also, Liz Crayland from Stillwater. She's at Marquette, and they'll be on ESPN Family Networks, has the women's games. And now when you say the ESPN Family Networks, that includes ABC, so there might be some games on there too, so be flipping around there. So there's Gabby Hayek from Inver Grove Heights, Tate Dasano. She went to Texas. Other Minnesotas included, like I said, Monica Cesano from Watertown Mayor at Iowa. Iowa State's Kristen Scott went to Caston Monterville. And South Dakota has two gals, Liz Korberg from Mayo High School in Rochester, and Hannah's she went to Rogers High School, just here in Rogers, Minnesota. So a lot of the smaller school kids are playing in the big dances for the girls. So that's really neat to see them go. Which brings me to this week's Soapbox. There was an issue earlier on the news we saw. They showed about the training facilities the men have for the basketball tournament compared to the women. Without getting into that, you always hear you saw some stats. Sue Bird and LeBron James had a thing earlier this week comparing how much they each make. LeBron makes $30-odd million a year. Sue Bird makes like $200,000. But you look at their career stats: same amount of championships, same amount of gold rank or Olympics, all these other things. It's because women's sport doesn't have the advertising money and the TV contracts the men have. That's where most of it comes from. It's not your quality of game. But what's depressing to me, and this is where I'm getting at my box here a little bit, is, ESPN's say they're going to show all the women's games, but it's on ESPNU or ESPN Women's Channel. And channels a lot of people don't get unless you buy your third-tier cable package. So you're not a chance to see them a lot. So therefore, they can't get the advertising money, the TV contracts, so they can get the better facilities, the better training, and all this other stuff. That's where it comes down to, is supporting your schools when you go. Go see the girls play in high school. Go see them play college. Try to catch them on TV as much as you can when you watch. Because if you watch them on TV, the ratings go up. Hey, funny, there's a demand for it. You'll see more games going. Yes, it's fun to watch, like I said, the women's game before, more because they're playing to win, not to be on Sports Center. You watch some of the men's games, that's where teams get tentative. Not saying this happened to Ohio State against Oral Roberts yesterday, but ORU had nothing to lose. They're going out there like a rabid bull ready to go, and Ohio State's playing safe. Next thing you know, you're down by 15 points, and you're out of luck. So that's what's depressing about that. You don't see that in the women's game. I don't care if it's 1 against 16 or not. They're always all playing to win all the time. You take no one for granted. UConn takes no one for granted. They got you down by 20. They're going to keep their foot in your throat and beat you by 35 when it's done. They're not going to step back. So, and the women's games, like I said, on TV today, 11 o'clock on ESPN is Central Michigan against Iowa. That's 11 o'clock. And also on ESPN tonight, High Point, again, they were 22-6. They won the Big South Conference for women's basketball. They'll be going up against UConn tonight at 7 on ESPN. So you can watch some local kids there. Little pro wrestling news out for you. All Elite Wrestling, their show Dynamite on Wednesday nights. This last Wednesday, there was a match between Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa that if you've not seen this match, you need to go back and watch it. I've heard no one say anything less than match of the year for it already. If you're into pro wrestling, this is a perfect match. The way that it was choreographed, the way it was, the story it told, you couldn't do it any better. These two, spot on. I'll tell you right now, they both had a little color, meaning there was blood, there was violence, because it was a lights out sanction match. So there was chairs and blood and ladders and thumbtacks and all that stuff. But still a good match. Told the story. Both of them. Awesome job there. So give that a look. Going to the college programs for the week. Who's got what where? for 3 teams we, I don't want to say sponsor, support. Gopher calendar for the week coming up. See, here we go. We got NCAA championships for wrestling coming up today. That's on ESPN2. Women's gymnastics and men's swimming and diving championships. You can see those again. Gophersports.com. You can click on the watch icons there and check those out. And baseball, Northwestern, they're playing today at the greenhouse. Sunday, volleyball, Wisconsin. Soccer, Rutgers. Men's tennis, Penn State. Baseball again, Northwestern. And Iowa for tennis. Then during the week, baseball and gymnastics on Monday at Northwestern, Illinois, here at the Pavilion. Wednesday and Thursday, swimming and diving championships continue in North Carolina. Men's golf out there in California, and soccer here against Purdue. Friday, again, continuation of the championships for swimming and diving. Continued golf, baseball, tennis, and softball. All kicking in right here. College baseball, great sport to watch, support them. Volleyball, finishing up there. That's our Gopher schedule for the week. Our friends up north in Bemidji, Saturday, they got softball and baseball games going on. They don't have a lot of the other sports they have here now, so just baseball and softball really going on. The Beavers did lose last night in the regions for the WCHA. They will not be playing the WCHA championship game today. They were ranked 15th coming in, so we don't know. Seeding or selection show is Sunday night for the NCAA hockey. And the way that goes for NCAA hockey is they have 16 teams. They'll have games on March 26th and 28th. Then April 8th and 10th will be their final four. It's from the Atlantic Hockey, the ECHC, Hockey East, Big Ten, NCHC, and WCHA. So those 6 get automatic bids, and the other 10 are at large. In Hockey East and out west, number 1 Boston College lost in their tournament. UMass, number 1 seed in their conference, lost in their tournament. So you get a chance to see how these other schools come in if they get the automatic bids. I wouldn't worry if I was Boston College or UMass or these other schools that lost. They'll still get an at-large bid. But it kind of throws things in a tumble when you got your number 1 team in the country doesn't win its conference tournament. Well, now they just took one of those at-large bids. Hopefully they took it from a team who wins that conference tournament. So it kind of makes it the debate on who should be there or not a little more fun to have with the boys at the bar afterwards. Speaking of spring football, here's Bison's schedule for the week. Baseball. And here they're going against, they're the Sioux. I don't care what their little birdie says. It's the North Dakota Sioux. They're playing football at the Dome against the Sioux today. There's softball at Kansas, baseball Western Illinois. Volleyball at Denver, and softball Tulsa. And there's kind of the rest of their schedule. This is all at gobison.com. Track and field coming up. Baseball, there's Oral Roberts University. They're basketball upsetting school. Soccer against South Dakota State, the Jackrabbits. And volleyball at North Dakota. Little NASCAR news for the weekend coming up. Here's the standings going into today. They're at Atlanta for the Fold of Honor 500. Here's the standings going into that. So you got Denny Hamlin, Brad Kozlowski, Peng Joy Logano, Collar. The little asterisks by their name. That means they've won a race already, so they're automatically in the playoffs. So that's, you win a race, you're automatically in. So that's the point standings right there. This is all at NASCAR.com. You can get that information. Going back to some other notes, here's my meme of the week, my bracket right there. Thanks to Oral Roberts. Appreciate it. Backtracking the girls' basketball a little bit. Next year, the women's Final Four is in Minneapolis. So maybe we get a chance to see Paige play a little local basketball here. My person of the week, athlete, musician, whatever, Paul Stanley a Kiss. He's got another band called Soul Station. What is a Soul Station? Is a band he put together back in 2015. and he recovers a lot of Motown songs, but he doesn't do it Kiss style. He does it Motown style. So it's nice little easy listening music. If you like Motown stuff, if you like some of Paul Stanley's ballads, it's that same, his voice for it, then I highly suggest you give it a listen. If you're into the old Motown sound, if you will, go with that. And then I just got a couple of concert updates here for you before we get going. Medina. Now, Medina's website, if you got tickets for some of these other things, please give them a call and check. For their list of concerts, they list the next one being Friday, April 9th, Arena with Heartless opening up. Trilogy, tribute band to the Doors, Zeppelin, and Pink Floyd on Saturday, April 10th. The next weekend is Them Pesky Kids with Gel on the 16th, followed by Church of Cash. April 23rd, Head Games, a tribute to Foreigner. And April 24th, the Shayla Lee Band. But if you go to their calendar, they don't list a lot of those bands on there for April. So please give them a call before you head down there to check. Before you head down and see what's going on at the Medina. That's what I got, Dan. How about you, sir? What do you got for trivia answer, first of all?
Trivia question is, the Ohio State Buckeyes women's hockey program always had been a cellar dweller, kind of middle of the road. But the last 4 years have been doing very good, finishing in the top 3 in the conference, going to the Frozen Four twice. The reason for that is a new head coach. The question is, who is that head coach? The name is Nadine Muserall, is the head women's coach there. Now, she may sound familiar to the listeners. She's the all-time leading goal scorer and points scorer at the University of Minnesota Golden Gopher women's hockey program. And a lot of women's players came through the program and put up huge, huge points. A lot of all-stars, Hall of Famers, whatnot. But Nadine topped them all out. In fact, her gloves are on display at the Hockey Hall of Fame. And so very good credibility there. She went on and has been named the head coach at Ohio State Buckeyes. And boy, has really turned over that program into a powerhouse. And so in the future years, for those following women's college hockey, keep an eye on Ohio State. Right now, Wisconsin seems to has a grasp going to those final games, winning the championships. Wisconsin plays today. This will be their 9th time in the title game, going up against Northeastern, who's never even been to the Frozen Four ever. And so that'll be good. But Wisconsin's really in there in the mix. But Ohio State, I think in the next couple of years, they're going to be a team to reckon with. And I think with Muserall at the helm, they're going to be a good team to watch. So that's the trivia question for this week.
Nice. And in your earbuds this week, what you got? What are we listening to?
I've got Nirvana. Not Nevermind. We've already covered Nevermind once. And they only really made 3 albums. A lot of folks, public folks in the public know the second and third albums, but not many know the first. The very first one is called Bleach. And so that'll be I'm going to share the screen here. Yep. The album review today is Nirvana's Bleach. Bleach is the debut studio album by American rock band Nirvana, released in 1989 on Sub Pop Records. They released the first single, Love Buzz, in November. It's kind of a punk sound to it. Remember, grunge really wasn't around yet, but the Seattle sound was when this came out. They rehearsed 2 or 3 weeks in preparation for a full-length album. They were only under contract to release an EP, but they said, you know what, let's release a full-length album in the recording studio and see what happens. Maybe we can release that. So, of course, they did that. They rehearsed at Reciprocal Recording in Seattle, Washington, under the producer Jack Endino, the grandfather of grunge. This entire album is really 37 minutes. It's made up of a lot of songs that are under 3 minutes long. It's a pretty quick, easy listening to album. This album sold 40,000 copies when it was first released. The next album Nirvana did was Nevermind, which went how many times platinum?
Right.
What it did was it brought about a resurgence in this album that you're seeing now with the black and white cover. Had a resurgence of this. Also in 1994, Kurt Cobain's death brought a resurgence to people buying this album. And they also, Geffen Records reissued this for the 20th anniversary in 2009, including a live recording, a live concert, and some extra bonus material. And this ended up selling now to this date 1.9 million copies. It already went platinum. In fact, it's on the verge of being a double platinum album, and I don't think many people have even heard of it. So anyway, this was 1989 before things became big. Short album. This album came out next month. Will be the 27-year anniversary of this album. Rolling Stone magazine named their top 50 grunge albums of all time. Bleach is number 13 on the all-time list of grunge music. So, really, really interesting stuff here. I just listened to this again last night, and I forgot how much I like this entire album. It's got a punk rock feel to it, of course. Now, the band, what they did when they were getting ready to record and rehearsing for this, they had a tour van on the road, and they had a cassette. One side was a Smithereens album. The other side of the album was an extreme metal band called Celtic Frost. And so on tour, they listened to both sides of this. And their bassist, Chris Novoselic, said, our music is kind of somewhere in the middle of this. Kind of everyday pop, punk, along with some very heavy music. So that's what they said that they listened to at the time. The lyrics were all written by Kurt Cobain, basically before he moved to Seattle. Him and his family, he grew up not in a good environment really, but grew up in Aberdeen, Washington. A lot of the lyrics about his distaste of living there, his distaste of growing up there, and his resentment toward his parents. So a lot of anger here came through, but really he wrote all the lyrics about his time in Aberdeen.
Which is kind of funny because the city of Aberdeen just loves Kurt Cobain when you go there,
They kind of turned it up now, and they kind of welcome all the fans that come in to visit. The sign says "Come as you are" when you enter. It's Kurt Cobain's birthplace, but wasn't too well liked and didn't like it. Wanted to get out. It's a big logging town there, and didn't like it. He made a song called "Mr. Mustache" that really makes fun. Kurt Cobain makes fun of the athletic jock types with big mustaches back in the 80s. And so he makes fun of these folks, and also makes fun of the jocks in general. And when they became famous after Nevermind, the biggest fan base that Nirvana had was their jocks in high school, and Nirvana. Cobain hated it. He hated that the biggest group of his followings were the people that he had disdain for growing up in high school. So very, very interesting. The working title of the album before it went to Bleach was called Too Many Humans. Too Many, T-O-O, Too Many Humans. They renamed it Bleach when they were in town, San Francisco, on a tour, and Cobain saw a billboard for AIDS prevention that advises heroin users to remember to bleach your needles if you're a heroin user before using it, called Bleach Your Works. Bleach your needles if you're using heroin, because HIV was running rampant at this time. He goes, let's name the album Bleach. So that's what it relates to. That's the other common question that I get is, what is Bleach? What does it mean? Why did they name it that? It's actually very, very good. A lot of humor on the album then as well. In retrospect, a music review critic did say that this album defined the entire decade of the 1990s. If you listen to Bleach, the entire album, it's really your summary of the entire 1990s decade in music. Now, here's the track listings. Song 1 is Blue, not the color. It's the past tense of the word blow, blue. Very, very good song. Once again, these first 4 tracks are under 3 minutes long. They kick by really fast. Song 2 is Floyd the Barber. Kind of talks about the lyrics about Floyd the Barber. Really gets into kind of child abuse is what it kind of talks to. Almost kind of a sex trafficking lyrics. Song 3 is About a Girl. That's got an early Beatles sound to it. About a Girl. Song 4 is a heavy song called School. Cobain writes that he feels like he's back in school. These lyrics were pointed toward their producers at Sub Pop Records, in particular John Poneman, who basically lyrics say, I feel like I'm back in school. Whenever I get in trouble, there's no recess for you. No recess for you. You can't go to recess because you're in trouble. And so the band finally makes it big. And Cobain finds himself now getting in trouble for doing things on the road, in the studio, and then subsequently disciplined. And so he feels like he's back in school. The song Love Buzz has a great bass opening to the song Love Buzz by Chris Novoselic, the bassist. But that's a cover song from a Shocking Blue song. Shocking Blue band made the song Love Buzz. Nirvana just covered it very good. The song Paper Cuts is next, also very good. That's lyrics involve sex trafficking. Song 7 is Negative Creep. Negative Creep, Cobain wrote about himself. When he's high, when he's stoned, he's a negative creep. And I think that was the nickname that he got. So he wrote this about himself. The lyrics are about himself. Also, it heavily jumps into on the chorus that, it talks about that his dad always wished for a daughter. And growing up, his dad wished for a daughter. Kurt Cobain wasn't that daughter, but he had the long hair. And the lyrics, the chorus goes, Daddy's little girl ain't a girl no more. Daddy's little girl ain't a girl no more. So a lot of trouble growing up in that family. The song Scoff is next. Scoff, song 8, talks about his parents and the contempt he had for his parents with their love for alcohol. Talks about alcoholics here, and it's a direct shot on Cobain's parents. So these lyrics are very interesting. Now, in an interview, Kurt Cobain says in an interview that the lyrics meant nothing. A lot of the lyrics to these songs that he made for this album, Bleach, were done the night before, or quickly created the lyrics, because he always put his time into the music first and writing and composing the music, and then thought about the lyrics later as an afterthought. I'm one here to tell you right now that that's couldn't be nothing further from the truth. I think he wanted to downplay the lyrics. The importance of the lyrics on these albums, Cobain, are very in-depth, very troubling almost. But he goes after a lot of people in these lyrics. Scott is his parents. Number 9, the song called Swap Meet. He goes after the swap meet crowd on Sunday mornings that meet for flea markets, because I think his family did this, and he made fun of the folks there, the stereotype of those going to flea markets on the weekends. The Sunday swap meet is what he talks about here. Very interesting. Song 10 is Mr. Mustache. Goes after high school jocks with mustaches here. Song 11, the final song on the track, is called Sifting. Sifting, like you would sift out flour while baking something, using a sifter. His song is called Sifting, but it goes after teachers and preachers in the lyrics that liked his blue eyes and always were interested in having them either inviting him to go back to their place or back for whatever. Kind of talks about sex abuse here once again, and those in a position of authority treating him as a sex object when he was a young child, including he goes after teachers and preachers. So Sifting, very, very nasty lyrics of the looks that he got from adults growing up, and also his interest in leaving Aberdeen. He could not wait to get out. Now, there's bonus tracks. Big Cheese makes fun of the Sub Pop record producer president, Jonathan Poneman, back at the time, calls him Big Cheese. And then Downer. The song Very Heavy Downer is very good. Heavy metal. It's their ode to Black Flag. Now, I never was a big fan of Black Flag in the punk rock industry, but they kind of did an ode to them, has a Black Flag feel to it. And so once again, those are the songs. Sifting, going back to Sifting, song 11 with the preachers and teachers. The chorus comes back to saying, hey guys, not interested, not interested. Basically him saying, I know what you guys are after, but I'm not interested in that sort of thing. And it talked about, it had the vibe about sex abuse. Now here's the personnel for this album. Kurt Cobain, of course, did all the lyrics, vocals and guitar. Chris Novoselic, bass. Chad Channing on the drums. And this is the last album with Chad Channing because they got Dave Grohl came in, and that's when Nevermind took off, and the band took off huge, and they went into the stratosphere with Dave Grohl. But Chad Channing does appear on drums for 9 of those songs. 3 were done before he came into the mix, recorded by Dale Crover. Dale Crover was on drums for 3 songs. Later went on to join the Melvins. Dale Crover. So this album, once again, very good. It sold 1.9 million copies. But it's one of those albums the general public really doesn't know a lot about. And after the resurgence of the 20-year anniversary reissue by Geffen Records. Sub Pop, by the way, was released on Sub Pop, and that was a Jack Endino produced, called short for Subterranean Popular Music, because what he wanted to do was have a music recording called Subterranean Popular Music, shortened it to Sub Pop. This is the biggest album ever on such a small label in Seattle. And then they moved to Geffen, and then they became big. And that's when they reissued this Bleach album. But 1.9 million copies, the dang thing is almost double platinum. And it's a very undervalued album. The entire 37 minutes, the entire album you can listen to. Good stuff. But that's all I've got for the album review of the week.
I noticed on the album cover, they might have mirrored it because Cobain played left-handed, and the guitarist on the album cover was right-handed.
I think it was mirrored, done in black and white. The album photograph was done by Kurt Cobain's girlfriend at the time, named Tracy Marander. Tracy Marander was his girlfriend, and she really helped out a lot with the art and the photographs. That's her photo in black and white, but yeah, they didn't put much time or energy into any of the labeling, the naming. It was just a sloppy deal. At the end, these guys didn't have too much money. Jack Endino, grandfather of grunge, sent them a bill for recording time for $606.17. Said, here it is for the recording studio time. The guys didn't even have really the money to put it together. So a little used guitarist that was in the studio, Jason Everman, wasn't even credited on the album, said, how about I write the check for the $606.17. Call it good. You guys can make it up for me later. He's the actual one who funded it. Didn't even stay with the band long, but he's the one who wrote a check because the other guys didn't have any cash. They had no money, almost homeless. I mean, so very interesting, but how they swung later to become one of the most known bands once Dave Grohl entered the mix.
Yeah. That whole Seattle sound kind of took off, but
it all took off. But they'd been around for a while. The Seattle music were around for a while. Nirvana was considered to some extent some of the latecomers, and then the Nevermind album came out and it blew open the doors, and it all became huge. So that's the album review of the week, Bleach, and I like the where they got the name from. Remember to bleach your needles when you're using heroin.
Yeah, because that's good for your system too.
That's also good. It's public service announcement. So they saw that in the billboard in San Fran when HIV and AIDS was really big at the time. Don't do drugs. AIDS was huge. HIV.
Yeah.
So this was 1989. So
great.
That's what I got for today.
Yeah. Like I said, Tuesdays, you'll see me do a little something on Instagram. Dan has something Wednesday.
I'll do something on Wednesday. I covered senior men's league baseball history this week, and I'm going to cover the next couple of weeks here amateur baseball. I'm going to focus on the DRS league one of the weeks, and the Crow River Valley League the second week. So I'll do little 10-minute segments on that as well.
All right. Yeah. Last week I kind of covered NIT basketball. Updated the blog yesterday. Talked about comparing the college football championship against Madness. The differences on those, or similarities on those, how they're so important in expansion or non-expansion of those tournaments, depending who you ask. So that's on our blog. Tuesdays on Instagram, I'll have a little something. Dan has something Wednesdays. And Thursday or Friday, if we think of it, we might throw something out, but don't hold your breath. But as tournaments come up now, you never know if things get busy. We got to do something else. Baseball season starts. We might have more stuff, breaking news type stuff on a Thursday or Friday come out. But
Twins open the season 1 week from Thursday.
That's right. Yep, that's right.
How about the Mets? Did you have any news from the Mets?
The Mets, they're sitting good. The one pitcher Crosco they got from the Indians in the trade, he came back from shoulder surgery. Everything about his arm's doing great. Come back from shoulder surgery and pulled a hamstring. So he'll be out to April or May. Some other things I read about baseball coming up. Trevor Story, the shortstop for Colorado. Watch for him this season. If the Rockies aren't doing well, he's in the last year of his contract. They might trade him. The Cubs, if they're not in it, Chris Bryant and Javi, the shortstop. Baez, yeah, their shortstop. They could be traded too if the Cubs are out of it. Just financial reasons. They're all three in the last year of their contracts. And other teams like that too. I see because of last year, teams lost money. If they're out of it early, they're not going to waste a lot of time. If you're a contender and your shortstop goes down, or you think, hey, we need a guy quick, I wouldn't be surprised if you see a major trade, quote unquote, done before the All-Star break.
Blockbuster.
Yeah, something before the All-Star break. Someone getting on it.
For the Cubs fans out there, I've been doing some reading. They've got this core group that's been with them for how many years now? They're all going to be leaving and finishing and wrapping up, like you mentioned. But what's coming up in the farm system, they've got what they think is their next core group of guys in AA and single A and triple A coming up that could be coming up in the next year or two that could be with the Cubs for many years to come. So watch that as well develop. So
if the Iowa Cubs are in St. Paul, go catch a game, watch it on TV because you might see some major leaguers coming up. I mean, you will in AAA. Hopefully, you'll see major leaguers anyway. But if the Cubs are counting on them being winners for them.
Yeah, those guys too that I mentioned that are coming up. If they're in AAA, you're going to see them come through in St. Paul, Minnesota at CHS Field. That would be good guys to watch there. A lot of talent.
A lot of preseason picks coming out for everybody. All the geniuses. Or to quote Sid Hartman, all the brain wizards with their predictions. I don't like doing preseason baseball predictions because that's such a sucker's bet, especially for baseball. It's too long a season. That's one guy gets hurt, two guys get hot that shouldn't. You've thrown everything all off. I said the Mets are looking at pitchers coming back healthy. They may not come out strong, but if one guy comes back from the hamstring, good. Syndergaard comes back good. And again, Noah Syndergaard's such a great follow on Twitter. Holy cow, he's hilarious. People try to ruffle his feathers, and he just rallies right back on them. It's pretty funny. Pretty funny. Good follow.
Good stuff. Remember to leave your comments and questions below, and also recommendations for sports teams and music.
All right.
See you next time, everyone.
See ya.